to Satsang. So beautiful to be back together with you all. This is our first satsang since I was abroad and then came back, but back and forth, back and forth. So it's so beautiful to be gathering together again for this sacred time. By God's grace, I'll be here for now the next several days, so we'll have the blessing of coming together in satsang each day. Today is the special day. भैया ये थोड़ा सा शायद कुछ आ रहे हैं. शायद ये वाला माइक ऑन है. I don't know. देख लीजिएगा. कुछ चल रहा है. Today is holy, as I was saying, on the banks of Ganga. And on Ganga, I shared the beautiful teachings of burning of Holika, which is tonight what we celebrate. But there's another core piece of the story that I thought, let me bring into satsang and let us emphasize this here, and then look at how we can bring that into all of our lives. So we have this beautiful, beautiful story of the young boy Prahlad, who's the son of a king. And the king is full of arrogance, full of ego, and only wanted people to worship him. He had all the subjects of the kingdom just worshiping him. Nobody's allowed to worship any other form of the divine, just him. And in the beautiful way that the universe works, his own son, as I said, is this incredible devotee. But something very interesting happens. So we have just one second, Alina, sweetie, if you guys can sit down just because there's so many people behind you. Thank you, sweetie. So we have so many times for the king trying to kill his own son, first to just shut him up and then eventually kill him. That's how bad the ego was. If he doesn't obey me, forget it, finish him. Tries with Holika gets burned. But we fast forward to the end of the story. And it's an incredible moment. Now you imagine that your child and your own parent tries to kill you. Not once, not twice, not by accident, not because they're crazy, not because they have some mental defect, not because they were an alcoholic and drunk, not in any way that you possibly in your mind could say, well, they don't know what they're doing. It's not their fault. But just from their own ego, from their own arrogance, from their own attachment to people worshiping them, they are prepared to sacrifice you. Keep trying, nothing works. Because the divine just keeps saving you. As I said, it's such a beautiful reminder, especially at times like this, that yes, God is there. Yes, God is good. And no, we can't be complacent. No, we can't be lazy and just sit back and expect God is going to do it all. And yes, the truth will be victorious. Light will be victorious. Anyway, so end of the story. Finally, after trying everything, king decides, forget it. I'll finish him off myself. Like nobody else I send to do it can do it. Nothing else is working. I will finish this boy. Now, the king has a boon. Hiranyakashipu had, as like many of us, when we get totally deluded in our arrogance, in our ego, in our illusion, he wanted to be immortal. And he asked God, he said, I will do this tapasya, and in exchange I want the boon of immortality. And God said, no can do. Like, do whatever sadhana you can, but I cannot grant you immortality because it is against the very nature of the nature I've created. That which is born changes and dies. I cannot grant you a boon that goes against the nature of nature. So he thinks he'll just outsmart God. He says, okay, no problem. Don't give me immortality, but just give me a boon that I cannot be killed in day or in night, inside or outside, by a man or an animal, or by any weapons. And God says, okay, done. You've done the sadhana, you've done the tapasya. Here is your boon. So he thinks he's outsmarted God. Like, okay, I'm not officially immortal, but if I can't be killed in day or in night, inside or outside, by man or animal, not by any weapons, it's essentially being immortal. So he's with Prahlad, their castle. And he's furious at the boy. And he says, you say your God is everything. You're so blindly devoted to him. And he says, if your God is really here, show him to me. And he strikes the pillar, thick like this, but thicker pillar. And he strikes it. And at that moment, Vishnu appears. And Vishnu appears in a form, half lion, half man. It's at dusk, not day, not night. They are right on the threshold of the castle, not inside, not outside. And he finally finishes off this evil king. Because of course, not only is he trying to kill his own son, but as you can imagine, he's terrorizing the entire kingdom. Imagine a situation where every subject had to worship only the king. You cannot worship God. You must worship the king. So they were being terrorized. This is the epitome of what we call a dharma, lack of dharma. Similar, not exact, but similar situation of that type of adharmic ruling of kingdoms that led to the Mahabharat war, that led to Bhagavan Krishna taking Arjuna out onto the battlefield. It wasn't a war for a piece of land, it was a war for dharma. So anyway, so he finally finishes off this king with his hands, which of course, because the top part of his body is a lion, they're claws, no weapons. But here's what's beautiful. Here's the point. He then finally takes Prahlad in his lap. And he says, my boy, I am so sorry. You have suffered so much. I didn't come sooner. So many threats you've had, so much difficulty you've had. Ask any boon from me. Any blessing, I will give you anything. And Prahlad says, just lifetime after lifetime. Bhakti ki ras, that juice, that essence of devotion of love. I just want every breath, every minute, every moment to just, my heart should beat more with love for you. Flowing through my veins should be that ras, that essence that juice of devotion. Just give me that, lifetime after lifetime. So Vishnu says, yes, 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 of course. Anyway, you are the epitome of devotion. Yes, granted, but ask something else. I want to give you something nice. You've suffered so much and you've stayed so devoted. So Prahlad says, okay, you want something else? Forgive my father. Do not make him suffer the karmic repercussions of his acts. And it's such a beautiful moment and such a beautiful teaching. It's, of course, the same story of Jesus Christ on the cross. It's the same story of so many persecuted mystics, sages, yogis, leaders across different religions throughout time who have had the courage to defy a ruling order that was oppressive, that was harmful, that was adharmic. And at the end of the day, whether they're being coddled by the divine Vishnu or they're being strung up on a cross, the prayer is the same. Forgive them. Those who tried to kill me or those who did kill me. Forgive them. And I take it as such a powerful teaching, especially at this time as we are about to go out in a little while and have the burning of Holika, is when we don't forgive. For most of us, the reason we don't forgive is we feel so justified in our anger. Now, I would be very surprised if any of us had more of a justification for anger than Prahlad did, right? We've all been through a lot. Different types of trauma, different betrayal, harm, cheating, abuse, whatever it may be. But has any one of us had a parent who tried over and over and over to kill us just to satisfy their own ego? So you think, okay, so if he, in this most unthinkable situation, I mean, he was a young boy, he didn't ask for a bicycle, he didn't ask for toys, he didn't ask for a life of success, he didn't ask me anything he could have asked for. You're lying in God's lap, and God is like anything. Just forgive his father. And so at this beautiful time, as we offer that within us that is like Holika, as I was saying on the banks of Ganga, that within us that is in illusion, that is dark, that is hateful, that is jealous, judgmental, negative, all of this, that would lead us to harm somebody else just for our own personal motives. As we offer that into the fire, we also allow ourselves to open to this power of forgiveness so that we can actually be free. I always say we don't forgive because what the other person did was forgivable. We forgive because, regardless of what they did, we deserve to be free. And so it's a beautiful evening to channel that inner Prahlad. See who we need to forgive. Let it go. And whatever it is within us that could lead us to harm another, maybe not actually burn them to death, literally, but, we gossip, we say negative things about each other, we underhandedly try to kind of bring other people down so that we can come up. It's burning them. It's harming them. So we offer whatever those characteristics within us are, so that we stop burning on the inside and we find that freedom. So I usually don't begin satsang with a talk. We usually go straight into questions. But because this is such a special night, and because I didn't get a chance to give the full story in Arti, I wanted to make sure for so many who are coming from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different traditions, just the fullness of the Prahlad story. And now we will open it up to any questions that anyone here has. There's a microphone in the middle of the room. Do not be shy. Yes, please come. And just share your name and share where you're from, and then your question.
Hi, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name's Marie. I live in London. Where I'm from is a complicated question.
That's okay. London counts.
My question is really relevant to what you've just spoken about. 1 in 3 girls experience sexual abuse before adulthood. You've spoken publicly about sexual abuse by your biological father, and unfortunately I share that experience too. Would you be willing to speak about how you navigated that abuse, and specifically whether you sought legal justice and how you discerned what dharma required of you? More broadly, when someone has been sexually abused as a child, is there a chance, and there is a chance, the perpetrator could harm others as they are not imprisoned? Is it right to forgive and to move on without seeking legal accountability? And at what point does compassion risk becoming complicity? And can pursuing justice through the law not be an expression of anger or ego, but a moral responsibility to protect the vulnerable? My yoga practice has allowed me to live a really happy life in the past few years, and I haven't had contact with my father for a long time. But I keep coming back to this question, that is it my dharma to expose him in the face of the law, or should I try and leave all of this behind me? Thank you.
Beautiful question, a very complex question. For everything we do, from that which seems as the smallest tiny decision, like what I'm going to have for lunch, or when I go to the shopping mall, what clothes I'm going to wear, to the careers that we have, to so many decisions that we make, to things like this height of a vulnerable, complex decision. Do I hold my own father legally accountable for the abuse he did to me as a child? All of these decisions. For me, the question is really one main thing. What is the ripple impact of that choice? What is the motivation for the choice? So again, starting on a much, still very impactful, but less vulnerable level, what we eat. Most people think it doesn't matter. Who cares what I eat for lunch? Who cares what clothes I buy? Well, we know that animal agriculture, the meat industry, is the greatest cause of global warming. We know that it's one of the greatest causes of global hunger, of the destruction of our planet's water. So what you eat has a huge ripple impact, not only on the animal, but actually on the planet, on the trees, on the air, on future generations. What we wear. You're buying cheap, fast fashion. It's one of the greatest polluters of our planet. Non-organic cotton. Well, chances are an enormous number of farmers have gotten cancer from the pesticides sprayed on the cotton. Their children have birth defects. Huge ripple impact. In a case like this, I would encourage you, there's no right answer. I would encourage you to ask yourself, what is the ripple impact? If that person were in a situation where there were the possibility of harm to others. For example, if he was remarried, let's say, and had new children, and the children were young, that's a possibility of harm. If he were an elementary school teacher, classroom full of young, vulnerable kids, possibility of harm. If it is simply about me having the strength to face my perpetrator, the legal system absolutely might be the right way, but it also might not. Because it doesn't always necessarily go the way that you want. And the question that you would have to ask yourself is, am I fully content, fully satisfied with simply to have stated my truth in public, and then whatever happens is in God's hands and I will accept it? Or am I doing this because, and this is key, because I somehow have the fantasy that if I just get him in the witness box, he's going to apologize. And he's going to finally realize what he did and say he's sorry. And that is the most natural, instinct, desire. You have every right in the world to want that. And the likelihood of it happening is almost zero. So I would be really careful about what the actual motivation is, like what you're wanting from that. And again, there is no right answer or wrong answer. If what you're wanting is just let it be in the open, let him not harm others, let others not harm others, let this set a precedent, let this be a deterrent to other fathers who think they can get away with it, it may absolutely be the right choice for you. But if there's a personal sense of repentance that you're wanting, of somehow a sense that you are going to feel better when a court gives him punishment, I would do a lot of work first, because the speaking of it is very powerful and very important. I don't know anyone who has actually found resolution due to a court's decision, or anyone who has actually had a situation where they get what they are looking for. And here's why. And this is true whether we're dealing with familial abuse or anything else. Here's why. The damage, the trauma, the hole in us caused by early childhood abuse, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, cannot be repaired simply by things that take place 10, 15, 25 years later. Because the little girl who was hurt isn't here anymore. And you as the adult woman can fight for justice, and it could be very powerful, and you could absolutely be a beautiful model and inspiration for other women to stand up and fight for justice. Absolutely. But if what you're expecting is that at the end of the day, the little girl in you who was harmed is going to be healed because he's finally going to own up to what he did, he's going to apologize, somehow there will be an internal healing from that, I would be very cautious. because I wouldn't want you to go through years and years of an additional trauma of a court case to find yourself not receiving what you think that you're going to receive. Sometimes simply forgiving someone, not to absolve them, but so that we can move on, simply stepping into our fullness, our health, is actually the greatest teaching. Because abuse, it's about power. And when someone no longer has power over us, that's not only the greatest healing for us, but sometimes it's also actually the greatest lesson for them. So this is something I would be happy to talk to you more about on a personal level and kind of the details of this. Yeah, absolutely. In my case, for a whole variety of logistic reasons, not the least being you don't actually have any proof, and it becomes one person's word against another person's word, and courts in general tend to not like to lock someone away for many, many years without any shred of actual evidence or proof. And these sorts of cases tend not to generate evidence and proof. But I'll tell you, the healing that came from letting it go, that came from forgiving, not of the action, but of the diseased, shrouded in confusion, fear, darkness, own unresolved issues. Forgiveness of that person. And an awareness within me that I could forgive made me actually realize that I was the one with the power. There had been a moment in time he had power, I didn't. But now I was the one with the power. I was the one with the power to choose I was going to let this define me and ruin me, or I was going to let it go. And that's an enormous amount of power. And it's the highest freedom, short of actual spiritual liberation, moksha, is to recognize and realize I am not defined by, identified by, imprisoned by someone else's ignorance, fear, anger, confusion. He had been abused in his childhood. He never dealt with it. We get to say the buck stops here. I'm going to heal so that the harm stops being perpetrated. And there absolutely may be, in some cases, an absolute place for legal justice. And it may not be necessary. In his case, it was so abundantly clear to me. He was haunted. He was haunted. In his words, he said to me, if you're looking for apologies, if you're looking for repentance, you're looking in the wrong place. So that was very clear. But all you had to do was look at him. He was haunted. I knew. His karma had, what happens in next life, who knows? But in this life, he suffered that karmic repercussion. The way he died, the way he lived, the way he died. His karma was reaping its fruits from day one, long before I started a healing journey. So we'll talk. That you'll have to decide, is that enough or is another step required? And either way can be right. But yeah, you're in exactly the right place. You're doing exactly the right beautiful work. And the key most important thing is whether you take him to court or you don't take him to court. You, today, are a being who was untouched. When I stood in front of my guru at 25 and told him my story, and this is why I'm afraid, and this is why I don't trust, there was not one cell of my physical body who had been abused. If he said to me, show me, where is she? Who is she? Who was abused? Bring her to me. I couldn't. Every cell of our body keeps regenerating. Skin cells every few days, our internal organs every 7, 8, 9 years. But by the time I was 25, sitting in front of Pujya Swamiji, it had been long since more than 8, 9 years since the abuse. There was not a cell of my being that had been harmed. And yet, I was defined by it, I was identified by it, I was suffering the repercussions of it. It was my story, it was how I lived, it was the reason why I was sick, why I was depressed, why I struggled with addiction. It was the excuse for everything. And yet, the one who was abused no longer existed. And that doesn't mean it didn't happen. That doesn't mean that it was okay. It doesn't mean that a young girl didn't suffer awfully. But it means she's not here right now. And to keep bringing that story, bringing it back, turns me into the perpetrator. Where I had been the victim, I become the perpetrator. He harmed me then. But by redefining my life every day by the harm done to me in the past, we go from being victim to being perpetrator. And so here you are, to become free, and to let it go, to step into the you, never touched, never harmed. Beautiful. Yeah. Other questions? Yes.
It's a lighter question. I'm Pratik, originally from Mumbai and now in Mauritius. So for 35 years, I've been going to ashrams. I've been following different gurus, listening to spiritual content, and I absolutely love it. In fact, me and my wife have been on a project promoting spirituality, secular spirituality. However, my personal faith is not as strong. When I see people around, they are quite clear in their faith. They're extremely strong in their faith. That's not me. I mean, it's been so many years. But I keep questioning, I keep having doubts. And you have a right reason for your faith. I read your book about coming to this ashram and not being able to come out. I've been going to ashrams and haven't been able to come out easily for so many years. Also, you mentioned about having a heart-stirring, kind of moment when you went to Ganga. I was walking around today for an hour and nothing stirred in me. So my question is, these kind of miracles, why don't they happen to everyone? And if there was like a small miracle, unquestionable miracle, which happened to anyone, that would basically clear all doubts. And that would be super helpful. So if you could do something for me, we can solve that problem once and for all. Could be a small thing. I have a blocked nose, you can unblock it, and that's it.
I'll tell you two pieces. First is, on the airplane to India, long before I had any of those experiences, I took a vow. And it was a simple vow. And I have absolutely no idea what inspired me to do it, but I will always be deeply grateful to it. And the vow was simply I would keep my heart open. Because my trip to India made no sense to my logical mind. I was traveling across the world to a place I didn't know anything about. I wasn't particularly interested in going. And so my vow was just that I would keep my heart open. That surely there must be a reason I was going that I just didn't know. And so I would keep my heart open to see what that reason might be. We call that Sankalp Shakti. And I deeply believe that that played a huge role in that which unfolded for me. It was grace, of course. It was Guru's grace, it was Ganga's grace, it was God's grace. But we have to be willing participants in that. Ganga will make you wet, but you got to get in. She's not going to, come through your bedroom at night and drench you. She's not going to knock down your walls. You got to get in. But not just physically. Our minds have to be open. Apples had fallen on the heads of lots of people before it fell on Newton's head. But he was the one who was open to it. What was different about him versus all the other people upon whose heads apples or mangoes or oranges had fallen? There was a degree of openness, interest, attention, awareness. How many of you noticed the moon as you walked in from Aarti? Okay, no, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up if you noticed the moon when you walked in from Aarti. So, about half. You didn't. There is this huge, almost unmissable, extraordinary full moon hanging in the sky right in front of the main pathway that we walk straight up. How do we miss it? What are we looking at? What are we focused on? The key has to do with openness. Find your way in. We each may have different ways. For me, the natural world is one of my easiest, fastest ways in. I have a science background. Look at the natural world even long before I was a religious person or a person who even identified as spiritual. All of these spiritual experiences I had, which of course I wouldn't have called that because I didn't use that word, but in retrospect I could say spiritual experiences, every one of them took place in nature. It was inconceivable to me that this was random. There was a sense of awe. I wouldn't have spoken of God, but there was a sense of awe. And I have found that sense of awe can be a very easy door to open for even the skeptical, scientific, non-particularly devotion-filled ones of us. I mean, you look at the night sky, filled with stars that no longer exist. Think about that for a moment. I mean, think about really what that means. You look up at the sky. You see this beautiful skyscape of stars. What you're seeing, some of it existed 500 years ago, some of it existed 10 million years ago. The light in the sky that you see as the stars today is a window 10 million years ago. To me, things like that open doors. Because they open doors of awe. It may not immediately be, oh God. It may just be creation, like, wow. I share frequently that if I ever am in need of a, devotional catalyst, easiest way for me is NASA's Instagram page. Nebulas, galaxies, universes. There is no way it is random. The magnificence, the perfection, the scope of it. And the fact that we've got pictures today, we've got telescopes taking pictures, relaying back to us of things that don't exist. Just think about that. It's taking a picture of a nebula, a star that's dying. The star died 10 million, 5 million, 1 million years ago, 50,000 years ago. And I get a picture of it today. That power of realizing the enormity, not just in space, but in on every level of this creation, to me, makes the presence of a creator. We may not have a specific name or a specific form for it, and that's fine. But it makes the presence of a creator, a very creative creator, undeniable. See what your way in might be. And it may come from sitting, not walking. I didn't have my experience on Ganga by walking, pacing up and down her banks, shopping up at Lakshman Jula. I had it just standing, looking out over her waters. Just be there. If you came in here and you said, my relationship, my marriage is on the rocks, or my relationship with my kid is on the rocks, that connection is kind of disappearing, and we keep doing everything together, like we went to the ball game and we did this, and I would say, stop. Just sit. Stop moving. Stop looking for which thing you're going to do that's going to reunite you. Leave your phones outside, turn off everything, and just sit together. No agenda. Sit in silence. Look in each other's eyes. That would be my prescription for if you felt like you were losing a connection. We make the mistake sometimes in relationships of thinking, oh, we'll go do this together. We'll do this. Connection needs connection. And in the same way with the divine. Instead of going here, going there, this ashram, that ashram, up and down Ganga, just sit down. Sit down on her banks, look at her. No agenda, see what happens. Or sit in a temple, look at Krishna, or sit in the night sky, look at the stars. Sit at the base of a tree, look at the tree. But just sit and look. Or close your eyes and look within. You'll find a door that opens more quickly, more easily, more fully than other doors. And it may not open all of it at once, but you'll feel, this may be a way. Something different is happening. Something beautiful is there. Something is stirring. Kuch kuch hota. You'll feel that. So just sit. And don't worry. It's there. In the same way that you know that love with your wife is there, or love with your kids is there. It's just in life we forget. We get wrapped up in other things, looking other ways. Yeah. Be still and have your eyes open and be sincere in your heart. Beautiful. We will take your question tomorrow. I want to be really conscientious to end. It's 8 o'clock, and we have a beautiful lighting of Holika on the Ghat right in just a couple of minutes. So from here, everyone can come down onto the banks of Ganga. We'll have the beautiful burning of Holika, and then come back for dinner. And I will see you all tomorrow, and whatever questions we didn't get taken today, we will take tomorrow. And so much love to you all.